USCHO.com. This is the USCHO Spotlight, a weekly podcast from U.S. College Hockey Online at USCHO.com, featuring conversations with college hockey coaches and players and journalists who cover the sport.
Welcome to USCHO Spotlight for Tuesday, December 1st, 2020. I'm Ed Trefzger along with Jim Connelly. Jim, the first team to cancel its season in Division I this year was Rochester Institute of Technology. But RIT also became the only team to restore its season.
And joining us on this week's USCHO Spotlight, the head coach of the RIT Tigers, and that's Wayne Wilson. And Wayne, you finally got to hit the ice last weekend and a nice split against number 9 Clarkson. But before that, I look at your offseason. A lot of coaches had crazy offseasons, but you might have had the craziest where before any program in the country had canceled their season, RIT came out and said that they wouldn't play winter sports. Seemed like a big disappointment to many, maybe even unexpected. And then whatever the efforts were behind the scenes, that decision was changed. So take us through, what was probably an extra crazy time as we should have been starting out college hockey season.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on there, a lot to unpack too. But I think all coaches have gone through a lot of similar things throughout the whole summer, the preparation, the unknowns, the students back on campus, the small pods or families or whatever, everyone's calling them, and to finally getting your team somewhat together. Probably most teams still not even in the same locker room and things like that. But anyways, we got to a certain point where we're closing into the start of the season. You can see it and taste it, and the guys are doing all these different things with masks on, small groups, and we had 0 positives at that time, so we're feeling pretty good about ourselves. And we know the presidents and ADs voted on the Liberty League, which is the rest of our sports, and then got word that they were canceled. The winter sports were canceled after already canceling the fall sports, but then also found out we were included in that, and that kind of caught us off guard. In that. I think if all the presidents and ADs in our league took a vote, we just kind of felt isolated there. And after doing a good job and after really kind of doing what was asked of us as a team, our players weren't really, they probably were angry, but it was more disappointed. It was just kind of a letdown and, blank stares, all from the coaches right on to everyone, like, what next now? And the captains and the seniors in particular, but the captains and seniors got together and they didn't agree with the decision and requested a meeting with the president and some other administrators as well. And were granted and they did a great job. But there was no anger when they spoke to them. They were explaining, I guess, their side of things and what they were doing and what they had accomplished in meeting the goals of, I think, the university as a whole at that point, and no positive tests, which you can still do all the right things and get a positive test. It doesn't have to be a foolish act for a team to be infected or anything like that. And we also knew, I think at that time, there was maybe just 2 more weeks before we got to November 24th. I don't remember the exact timing, but November 24th was when all our students were going to be sent home. And we kind of felt like that was our bubble time where, from the November 24th through January 25th, our team and the women's team were the only 2 that were going to be on campus. At that time, the women also had received no positive tests as well. We thought, we'd have a little bit of breathing room, and even though we travel and we're going to play some games, we weren't going to bring it back and infect the rest of the student body with our travels and things like that. So they explained very well what hockey meant to them, what they were prepared to do and give up, and were giving up. And to the president's credit, which was probably a lot harder to do, was he agreed with them, but we were still going to follow state guidelines and county guidelines and all the different things that, you have to do anyways. But so we weren't looking to take any shortcuts. We were just prepared to to follow through with everything. And like I said, to the president's credit, he listened and agreed. And so that was big. And now it's probably a little more pressure on us to make sure that we follow through and make him look good for that decision, and which is also a very difficult task. But that's where we got to it. And then we're looking forward to playing Niagara. And then all of a sudden they were out, and we were able to replace them with Clarkson. So a lot going on, but as you're seeing it, it's a little bit more common now. And whether it be in the pros or whether it be in college hockey, people are finding substitutes, because when you're healthy, you've got to play games, because there is a good chance that someone's going to be infected, and it only takes one person to kind of close your program down for a little bit, and you go from there.
Well, like you did mention, you got Clarkson onto the schedule. Before I even get into that series, what was it like for your players just to, see an opponent that didn't wear an RIT jersey, that had a different color and a different logo, and knowing that there was somebody they could hit with the vengeance that they tend to like to maybe throw a body check?
It's, we as coaches cry about a 2-week training camp before you start playing sometimes, and that gets old, but that was a long time. And I will say this, I think our break, even though we were off the ice for 17 days, but I think we had 9 days back on the ice to prepare for what we thought was Niagara, then Clarkson. I think the 17 days was good. I think it gets stale after a while when you've been on the ice since roughly October 1, and we were, at the beginning of November, and all of a sudden you get that break. It might have done us good just to take that break and be excited to be back on the ice. I know we certainly appreciated it more. We were more appreciative of being able to play games again, but so that was different. But we're still in separate locker rooms on game night. We were in one locker room, and still wearing masks for us in practice. I know some teams don't have to, but we're wearing masks in practice and that. So there's some things that are still a little strange, and then you step out and there's no fans. But I will say, even as a coach, once the puck drops, you're so focused on ice level that it's really when you're going out probably for warm-ups or the start of the game, or even the start of periods when you kind of miss the fans, the roar of the fans when you take the ice, and then even post-game, I guess, too. But really the 20-minute game itself, each period, you're so focused on that and not much more.
Talk to me a little bit about the weekend. Obviously, it was a weekend split with a win on one of the opening game of that series. But what did it kind of give you in terms of a perspective of your team? What did you maybe learn about your team throughout the two games?
Yeah, I think you always learn a little bit more. You see what they're like under more of a pressure situation. I thought Clarkson had very good forwards. Casey Jones does a great job with his team. They're well coached, so you've got to be prepared for a little bit. We probably got a little advantage in that we got to see game film on them playing Colgate, and they probably had a little bit of advantage of getting a game under their belt and seeing what it was like. But I thought we actually might have played better the second night, particularly the first two periods. But we weren't rewarded with any goals. The goals might have came a little too easily the first night, an 8-5 game to begin with, but just getting 8 goals the first night was a lot of goals. And so they were harder to come by. We were very good on special teams the first night, where we scored 2 or 3 goals and didn't give up any. And then the second night we gave up 3 goals on their power play, and we got 1 goal, I guess, on our power play. So it's a step in the right direction. I really like our forward group, as we talked before, even playing a game, and our defense, because we're so young, 3 freshmen and a transfer. We get 4 guys back there, and so at least 3 of them will be getting into game time, game action, and that's where we've got to grow a little bit. I got to play both goalies, which I was happy about. Drac as our number 1, but Ian has done a great job, and he's got off to a good start in training camp and extended training camp, so it was good to see him as well.
More with RIT's Wayne Wilson in a moment.
This is the USCHO Spotlight, a weekly podcast from US College Hockey Online.
We're talking with RIT head coach Wayne Wilson. You started in the direction we wanted to go next, talking a bit about this year's team. And we saw over the weekend, I think, exactly what you were talking about before the season, about a strong offense and young players back on D. You kind of went through that same situation with a young defensive core 4 years ago when last year's seniors were freshmen. How do you bring along a young team like that and get them ready to play at this level?
Well, they just got to play and learn and not get down on themselves when they make mistakes. They're all coming from very successful junior careers, so I think they think things are just going to happen. I think they learned in practice that it doesn't, but when it really ratchets up in game and people are on you a little quicker and the hits are a little bit more meaningful and the mistakes are a little bit more magnified, it does change their perspective a little bit. We're very happy with the group, so it's not like we're disappointed. It's just we know it's going to take some time. So, like I said, if we can get these games all in before Christmas break, it'll help them a lot. I know this, as I alluded to about the 17-day break earlier, they came back actually from that a lot better. They knew what practices were like. They're comfortable with their teammates and their surroundings and the drills and so on. So I think that will also bode well for us. But, our upperclassmen back there, so Dan Willett, one of our captains, but Regan Sieferling, Barry, who I thought has had a great camp, and then Boots, who transferred from AIC. Those guys are going to have to carry some of this a little bit for our young guys and let them get adjusted at their own pace.
Does it help you being able to skate 7 defensemen to get them some game time?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I wasn't really a proponent for that, but I really saw the benefits of it. And I think anytime you can get more people into the lineup and playing versus sitting, if you're not banged up at all, there is a chance that a lot of the same guys will be sitting out. And that makes it really tough because their commitment to the program is no different than your starters, and you like to get them in there. And for us anyways, we do believe in the guys that aren't in the lineup, but just that you're cut off at a certain point. So that 7th D is going to help and bring them along. And if anyone's struggling, you can give them a break and not forced to keep plowing through it and forcing someone that's maybe losing some confidence in tough situations. So you can still get them minutes and grow them maybe a little slower if that's the case.
Back in October, you expected that this might be one of the best offensive teams you've had. One of the things that I noticed over the weekend is just really very good puck movement. How do you assess the skills of your offensive side of the game?
Yeah, I think we've got really unselfish players to begin with. I like the skill level that they're at. I like the experience level that they're all at. I like the way things finished up last year. So even our number one power play at the end of last year was 2 freshmen and a sophomore, which now are 2 sophomores and a junior. So we're still really young in that position. And Dan Willett returns as a senior on defense. We miss Brubaker, but we've got Hammaker there now and a little different. I mean, I still think he's very capable of scoring from that flank position, but I think you're going to see maybe a little bit more creativity from that. And I think you saw it even Saturday night with the backdoor pass to Gonzalez there. And so those are the things that maybe change a little bit, but it gives a different wrinkle to our group.
You're only going to see part of the Atlantic Hockey Conference this season, and you're going to see a whole lot of them. How did the league come up with the idea of doing the regional pods, and what's your thoughts about seeing some of these teams so much?
Well, the idea was to try and really reduce the number of nights in hotels. We wanted a lot more up and back. You can control things a little bit better that way. There's so many other obstacles once you stay over in a hotel. And so we're going to have 2 of those this year, which obviously is a lot lighter than any other year that we had. And you're never going to – someone's going to have to go out to Air Force. So, that's one of them right there. So we did a pretty good job of that. I think you're going to grow to hate the guys on your own side. Playoffs might be a little refreshing and even a little bit of a feeling out process. You'll still be able to watch other teams on video, but There's no sense really doing that till right at the very end, till you know who you could be possibly playing. And you still might be playing in your division. I think that would be really the hard thing is after you've played some 5 times and have another maybe best of 3 series with them. That would get a little long for college. I mean, that we're just not used to that. It would be nice to play someone from the other side. Of course, you'd like to be at home for that, but we'll see how that all shakes down. So I think the league did. In order to play as many games as we possibly can, I think the league did a very good job of doing that. And it's not ideal in a typical year, but this is not a typical year.
Wayne, this weekend, it looks like a home and home with Niagara beginning Saturday at home in Rochester. This is a Niagara team. They're probably starting to kind of take the identity of their head coach, Jason Lammers, as he is gaining a little bit more experience there. But what do you know about this team? What have been some of the challenges you've seen over the last year, maybe even year or two? And if this is the first 2 of 5 times you're going to play Niagara, you kind of just touched on it with how rivalries can develop. But there's probably some potential for some animosity if these aren't the cleanest games in the world.
Yeah, well, I think there will be. I think as soon as you start lining up with someone as often as we are. But I really like Niagara. I think Jason's done a very good job. I think really this is probably about as close as finally being his team more than any other year. They had some big recruiting classes. They were young. Now they're really kind of come of age. I picked this team to finish very, very high in our league. I think they've got one of the top teams in our league. They've got some very dangerous players and good balance throughout with goaltending, defense, and some dangerous forwards. And I think there should be great series. So I think it's a good gauge. I think when we play them, I think 2 of the better teams in Atlantic hockey are going to be playing each other. And there's not much difference between really a lot of teams in our league. But I do pick Niagara to be one of the better teams in our league. And I think we'll find out some more about ourselves, and I just hope to continue to grow our game in all positions, in all situations, but this will be a great test for us this weekend.
Well, it is Niagara, a home-and-home series beginning Saturday at RIT, and then Sunday the travel up to Niagara. Our coach, Wayne Wilson, we always enjoy getting a chance to talk to you, and it's good to hear your voice knowing that your team is playing on the ice. It was a real battle to get there. So thanks for your time and good luck the rest of the way.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we're very appreciative of playing and thankful and looking forward to everyone from everyone involved in the game. Hopefully stays healthy and safe and we get to play something that resembles something close to a regular season and a successful playoffs and the NCAA championships.
That's RIT's Wayne Wilson. Jim, I heard stories and heard scuttlebutt about what was going on when the players were working hard to get the season restored. They put up a petition drive and they started doing research and prepared a presentation. And as Wayne Wilson said, it wasn't presented in anger, but kind of in a business-like manner. And from what I understand, it just wowed everybody who saw it.
And that's very impressive. And the whole process is impressive. You heard him talk about that 17-day pause, and many coaches might be frustrated with it. He seems like he and his team and his staff made the most of it, and it might have even been a positive. Obviously, coming out and being the number 9 team in the country to start your season is not bad. But I just give them credit. I mean, you saved your season. You brought the season back from the brink. And not only did you do that, but you got back on the ice and played a game before half of the teams that are scheduled to play this season. And by my count, it's about 45 teams that will play this year. And to this point, I think only about 20 have played. So to get back on the ice, you'd think, we canceled the season. Oh boy, we're going to get it back, but we need some time. No, that was not an excuse. That team got ready in a shorter period of time and had a very successful first weekend. I think it's going to be a very successful season for RIT. They're off to a good start.
Well, I like the approach that they're taking it a weekend at a time, playing the games when you can, being ready if you have to take a pause. But I think that's going to be the model going forward. Teams are going to play when they can. and you'll improvise, adapt, and overcome, come up with games when you can, like RIT did with Clarkson.
Yeah, flexibility will be the most important part of this schedule this season. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind to that. You're going to have to, maybe move games. You might have to cancel games. Standings might have to be figured out based on percentage of overall points as opposed to just total points. There'll be a lot of things that won't feel normal, but in a strange year, you're going to have strange things like that happen.
Well, make sure you check out all our podcasts. We'll be cranking them out 3 times a week going forward this season. You can find them all at uscho.com/podcasts. For Jim Connelly, I'm Ed Trefzger, and we'll catch you next time.
This has been the USCHO Spotlight, a production of U.S. College Hockey Online. Visit uscho.com/podcasts to listen or subscribe.